Well, now you only see half my head. Let's see. Oh, let's see here. I'm trying to, oh, maybe that might work. Okay, guys, so I know this is my third video today, and I don't normally put out this many, but I wanted to put out one more video. Third's a charm. 3. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because there's a few cases that I've already done research on. So I figured, why not do the cases? Why not do a video of them, get it done and over with, put it out, see what happens. You know what I mean, type of thing. So in this particular one, I've already talked to you guys about. I did a live on it, actually. And the reason why I'm bringing it up again is because I don't know if you guys are subscribed to Eric G, but if you're not, go subscribe to him. He is awesome. We were all chatting in, I believe it was our Tria's chat. Go check her out. She is awesome as well. Subscribe to them. Amazing people. But we were talking about it, and I thought, you know what? I have all the information, so why not just put it out? And like I said before, with Susan Powell, I think the problem is that her story got lost in the whole mix of her, basically her whole family, dying. Her husband, if you remember Susan Powell's story, it's her husband started, the house on fire, basically blew the house up with her sons in it. I didn't know personally, but when I was doing my research, I had found that the boys had died from asphyxiation, which means that they, from the house being on fire, the smoke went into their lungs and killed them. But the worst thing is that he literally took like a little hatchet thing and knocked them out first. So they were alive when he blew up the house, is I guess the point that I'm trying to say. But, and that actually happened here in Washington State, where I'm from. And so, that's why a lot of times I like to do the cases that I know about, and I don't like to do I like to do the newer cases, but the thing is, I see a lot of people doing the newer cases, so that's why I try to do those older cases, not older, but and bring them back to light, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. That way, you guys get to learn about them, and so okay. So anyways, you guys get to learn about them, and I think, or at least learn more information on them. And so, for example, when it comes to Susan Powell, her and, oh my goodness, Josh Powell, got married real young. I didn't know that. I thought that they were real close in age. Well, come to find out, they're pretty far in age. He was 24 and she was 19 when they got married, or when they met, I believe. But yeah, and after they met at a church function, and what this is funny, what they felt that they had in common was Suzanne, when she was younger, was into birds, her and her sister, and it just so happened that Josh had a parrot, and so that kind of attracted Susan to him, because she, kind of like, he's an animal lover type thing, so she kind of fell for him that way. And so they ended up, getting together. They got married. They lived with Josh's father, Stephen Powell, for, I think it was for about a year. And then they moved to, oh my goodness, Utah. Moved to Utah. And they moved to Utah. So what Susan was telling everybody was that they had moved to Utah to be closer to Josh's mother and his sister Jennifer. Well, the truth was that the reason why they moved out of Stephen's home was because Susan wasn't feeling comfortable with Stephen there anymore. He had like this secret love for her. He even went as far as writing her a love song. To me, that's a little creepy. He also had taken pictures of her without her knowledge. He would try to stick, like, for example, if she was in the bathroom using it, he would try to stick the camera underneath the door where he could see her. Very, very disturbed man. Let's just leave it at that. And so they moved to Utah. Well, during this time that they're in Utah, Susan claims that Josh changed over time. Like, he wasn't the same guy that she had married. He was now a completely different guy. And she actually was sending emails in between herself and family and friends. And a lot of times in those emails, she didn't want to give up on her marriage. She wanted that marriage to work. And she kept telling him, if he would get counseling, she would be more than willing to work with him as long as he went to counseling. And, he wouldn't do that. And I think another thing that she had that was a hard on her was, even though they both worked, both their money went into a joint account. But Josh would go as far as changing her PIN number on her bank account so she couldn't get into her, use her card to get any money out or anything. And so there would be times where he would give her like $10 a week for groceries, and for 3 people, for the week. And then he would turn around and go buy himself chips and dip and whatever, snacks or whatever he wanted with no problem. And there were other times where she would call up a family member or a friend and ask them if they would have like a packet of hot dogs for the kids because, Josh wouldn't give her money. And so, it proceeded to get worse. And just very sad. It just proceeded and proceeded. And so, and actually one of her best friends was Jennifer, which was her sister-in-law, Josh's sister. And actually, I have to say, in my opinion, she's probably the only one that wasn't way out there, because, yeah. Anyways, so the night that Suzanne went missing, it was, this is nuts, below freezing. It was basically a blizzard. And Josh decides he's going to go camping with his 2 boys. Now, mind you, his 2 boys at the time, I think, were like 2 and 4. And so they were really young. Who throws their kids in the car at midnight? He left at midnight to go camping with his toddlers. And Suzanne stayed home. And so, of course, people thought that was fishy. Okay. Well, a friend that had actually stopped in before earlier that night and had dinner with them had said that Josh had cooked pancakes and eggs for dinner, which was really odd to her because Josh doesn't cook. And it got even weirder because after they had eaten, Suzanne said that she was wasn't feeling good and was feeling really, really tired and needed to go lay down and rest. And which was, the friend said, which was really odd because she seemed fine beforehand. The police tested the pancakes, found nothing, but they weren't sure if it was, it could have been anybody's pancakes that they had found. They don't know if that was the one that Suzanne had eaten off of or, because by the time that they had taken the food, apparently, there was only like pieces in the sink and stuff like that. So they didn't even have all of it to be able to test. So yeah, so she goes missing. Well, the funny thing is that that Josh doesn't show up to work Monday morning. Neither does Suzanne. Well, that, kind of blows a horn on, okay, well, where are they? They're usually on time, da 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 da. So, I believe Suzanne's boss, or I believe it was Suzanne's boss that called Josh's mother and asked if she knew where they were. Well, oh no, it was the daycare. Sorry. It was the daycare center that they were supposed to drop the boys off that morning, and they found it odd that they hadn't dropped the boys off. So they called Josh's mother, and then Josh's mother had called Jennifer and was like, they didn't drop the boys off. We don't know where they are. We can't get a hold of them. So Jennifer takes the police over to the house, and the police end up breaking in the door. Well, of course, there's nobody there. And the fishy thing was that there were two fans that were like, one was sitting in front. I believe that they were like facing each other, but it was in the living room and on a rug, and also on the couch area, which the police thought was, he's like, he just washed the rugs, like the rugs were just cleaned. And that to them was very odd. And actually later on down the road, they did find blood droplets, but they weren't sure, there wasn't enough, I guess, to test it to find out, So, but anyway, so they searched the house. Suzanne's purse is there. I believe her phone is there, all of her stuff. She, but Josh is nowhere to be found either with either one of the boys. Well, finally by like 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, they show back up and they're asking Josh, well, where is Suzanne? And Josh is like, oh, well, Suzanne's not here, or Suzanne's supposed to be here. I don't know where she is, and so of course goes down the line of she's missing. So they put out a missing, persons thing. And they start questioning Josh. At one point, Josh even goes in for an interrogation and says something like, they ask him questions and they tell him, basically that he didn't have to stay there, that if he didn't want to answer any more questions, he could go. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go. Well, and the police officer's like, well, really? You don't want to answer our questions? Don't you want to find your wife? And he's like, well, of course I want to find my wife, but you know what? I'll just think about it. I'm going to go home and I'll think about it. And the cop's like, you're going to think about it? Your freaking wife is missing. What is wrong with you? He had no emotion over it. Absolutely no emotion. And within a month's span of Suzanne going missing, Josh had basically packed everything up and moved here to Washington State. And who does that when your wife has gone missing and they still haven't found her? To this day, she's still missing. But, who does that? So he, at one point, Jennifer, remember Josh's sister, decides that she's going to hop on a plane and get in touch with the police, and she's going to wear a wire and she's going to confront Josh. And she's going to be like, look, I need to know this, and I want to know what you did to her, and this is how, and all he could do, all he did was deny. She never got anything out of him. Even ended up, Stephen ended up getting into it with Jennifer, and basically telling her she needed to leave, that, he couldn't believe that she was accusing her brother of this. And, just, yeah, very sad, you don't, but yeah, so he, like I said, he moves to Washington State. The sister goes and questions him, doesn't get anything out of him, and then all hell breaks loose when they go in. What had happened was, Stephen and, Josh Powell and, gosh, I'm trying to think, Chuck Cox, which is Suzanne's father. They decided, so Chuck Cox decided that, you know what, we're going to put missing posters all over the place, even out there, in Washington State. We're going to put it all over on his neighborhood, to let him know that we are still looking for her. And it seemed to piss him off, basically, him and Stephen, because it got to the point to where that Chuck and Stephen ended up getting restraining orders against each other. And it got to a point where Stephen was kind of mocking Chuck, in my opinion. I think he was mocking him because even Josh and Stephen had tried to set up like a internet page or something like that, so to be able to post Susan's journals, because Susan had wrote journals, and they were going to post these journals on there to show what kind of person she really was. Well, of course, her parents fought this, and that actually opened the police's eyes, and that's when they went in and took, got a search warrant, took everything out of there, and that's when they found that Susan Powell was looking at child pornography and also taking pictures of his next door neighbors, their daughters, while they were in the bathroom and changing. And there were pictures even of Susan without her you can tell they're without her acknowledgement. And so he goes to jail. Well, during this time, Josh gets the boys taken away, and the boys end up going and living with Susan's parents, and which is a good thing. And at that point, the boys, after about a month of staying with Susan's parents, they started to get comfortable with them, and they started like drawing pictures and talking to them and stuff. Well, at one point, I think it was Charlie, he drew a picture, and it was a picture of the van, and then there were 3 people, and the grandmother had asked, oh, what is that? Well, he had said, that's, him, his brother, and his father. And she goes, oh, well, where's mommy? Because I guess it was a picture of the night that they had gone camping. And he said, mommy's in the trunk. Well, it wasn't, but I think it was a week to 2 weeks after that is when Josh had, did what he did and blew up the house. So after Josh and the boys died, the police decided, you know what, we're going to rein in on his brother, because they believed that his brother had a hand in this. Because what had happened was he had a perfectly good car, and when they had moved, I believe when they had moved Josh to Washington State, they drove or something like that. Well, for some odd reason, he took his perfectly good car and sold it to a junkyard. And the police had taken a canine out there, and the canine hit on the trunk. Well, when they did the testing on the trunk, they found nothing. So they don't know. So they started to, want to question him. Well, anytime that they questioned him about it, he would shut down. And so eventually, he ends up committing suicide. He jumped off of off the roof of a parking building, like a building that you would take, park in. Yeah. Well then, and that happened after Josh had killed himself and the 2 boys. And then not only that, the father's still in jail. He gets out. I believe he got out in 2017. And then in 2018, he died of a heart attack. So, I mean, it's a very sad story, and Susan gets lost in this. And, that's just like the spoof of the story, like a quick review of Susan Powell's, story of how she went missing. And, but believe me, I've done my research, and I know a lot about this story, this case. And I just find it sad, that, and I don't understand how a police department, I know that maybe they didn't have enough evidence to arrest him at the time, but I think maybe if they would have, maybe if they would have even arrested him for something else, maybe he would have spilled the beans to another inmate, but again, you can't really play that what if game because you don't get that chance, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, so that's Suzanne Powell for you. Like I said, she's still missing. Oh, one more thing, and I have to mention, so during this whole thing, Josh and Stephen had claimed that Susan had ran off with this other guy. Okay. Well, the guy that they had claimed that she had ran off with had also came up missing. But they had footage of him. Like they had footage of what he had done. Like he drove apparently like a few hours and then parked his car and walked away from his car, which to me was really odd. But the funny thing is she didn't even know him. Like she absolutely had no clue. She didn't know this guy. Like even her friends, her family all said that no, his were the same. And so for them to claim that he, that they had ran off together and gotten married and started a new family is how they put it, was just a load of crock. It never happened. There was also a psychologist that kind of studied because Josh had done some journals from when he was younger, and a psychologist had studied his journals and come to the conclusion that he was a narcissist. Sorry. And that when he looked at his boys, he didn't look at them as individuals. He looked at them as if they were an extension of himself. And so I just find that, like, wow, that's, I don't know. I just find that, really weird of him. Like I said, I will, maybe I'll try to put a picture of the other gentleman that was missing or that is missing, because he is still missing out as well in the video, because I think that he deserves acknowledgement as well. And, yeah, so that's the gist of the case of Susan Powell. If you guys have any questions or want to know more, let me know. Like I said, I have like everything right down to the emails that she sent to, friends and family, to what Jennifer and Josh had said when she was wearing the wire. I do my homework, believe me. It's so, but yeah, so if you guys like I said, if you want to know more, let me know. Maybe we'll do a live or something on it again and we can talk about it. But I hope you guys like this and I hope you enjoyed it. And I promise, last video of the day, it'll be the last one. But yeah, so enjoy your day, guys.